Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I want to introduce myself. My name is Novia Lestari, class semester 3B1 from Education English. I want to speak about Jack Rowling. President Faust, member of the Harvard Corporation and the board of of overseer member of the faculty, proud parent, and above all graduates. The first thing I would like to say is thank you. Not only has Harvard given me an extraordinary honor, but the weeks of fear and nausea I have endured at the shock of giving this commencement address have made me last week. A win-win situation. Now all I have to do is take deep breath, quit at the red brainer, and convince myself that I'm at the world's largest Defender reunion. Delivering a commencement address is a great responsibility. Also, I thought until I cast my mind back to my own graduation, the commencement speaker that day was the distinguished British philosopher Baroness Mary Warnock. Reflecting on her speech has helped me enormously in writing this one, because it turned out that I can't remember a single word she said. This liberating discovery enabled me to proceed without any fear that I inadvertently influence you to abandon promising career in business, the law, or politics for the giddy delight of becoming gay wizards. You see, if all you remember in years to come is the gay wizard joke, if come out ahead of Barnes Mary Warnock, achievable goals, the first step to self-improvement. Actually, I have worked by mind and here for what I to say to you today. I have asked myself what I wish I had known at my own graduation, and what important lesson I have learned in the 21 years that have expired between that day and this. I have come up with two answers on this wonderful day when we are gathered together to celebrate your academic success. I have decided to talk to you about the benefit of failure, and as you stand on the threshold of what is sometimes called relief, I want to exalt to crucial importance of imagination. This might seem quixotic or paradoxical choice, but please bear with me. Looking back at the 21 years old that I was at graduation is a slightly uncomfortable experience for the 42 years old that she has become. How my lifetime ago I was striking an honestly balance between ambition I had for myself and what just close to me expected of me. I was confident that the only thing I want to do ever was to write novel. However, my parents, both of whom come from impoverished background and neither of whom had been to college, took the view that my operative imagination was an amusing personal quirk that would never pay and more cakes or secure a pension. I know that the irony strikes with the force of a cartoon film. Now, so they hope that I would take a vocational degree. I want to study English literature. A compromise was research that in retrospect satisfied nobody, and I went up to study modern language. Hardly had my parents crowded to corner at the end of the route that I did German and scuttled off down the classic corridor. I cannot remember telling my parents that I was studying classic. They may well have found out for the first time on graduation day of all the subjects on the place and think they would have been hard put to name on less usual than Greek mythology when it comes to scoring the key to an executive bedroom. I would like to make it clear in practice that I do not blame my parents for their point of view. There is an expiry date on blaming your parent from steering you in the wrong direction. The moment you are old enough to take the wheel, responsibility lies with you. What is more, I cannot criticize my parents for hoping that I would never experience poverty. They had been poor themselves, and I have since been poor, and I quite agree with them that it is not a nobling experience. Poverty and child fear and stress and something depression. It's mean a thousand petty humiliations and hard hardship. Climbing out of poverty by your own effort, that is indeed something on which to pride yourself, but poverty itself is romanticized only by fools. What I feared most for myself at your age was not poverty but failures at your age, in spite of these things like of motivation at university, where I had spent far too long in the coffee bar writing stories and far little time at lecture. I had a knack for passing examination, and that 4 years had been the measure of success in my life and that of my peer. I'm not enough to support that because you are young, gifted, and will educate. You have never known hardship or heartbreak. Talent and intelligence never yet includes anyone again the caprice of the fates, and I do not for a moment suppose the everyone here has enjoyed existence of unreflected privilege and contentment. However, the fact that you are graduation from Harvard suggests that you are not very well acquainted with failure. You might be driven by a fear of failure quite as much as desire for success. Indeed, your conception of failure makes you not be too far from the average person idea of success. So, height have you already flown? Ultimately, we all have to decide for ourselves first which consti- constitutes failure, but the world is quite eager to give you a of criteria if you let it. So I think it's I think it's fair to say that by any conversation measure, a mere 7 years after my graduation day, I had failed on an epic scale, and exceptionally shortly first marriage had imploded, and I was jobless, a lone parent, and as poor as it is possible to be in modern Britain without being homeless. That fear that my parents had for me and that I had have from for myself had both come to pass, and by every usual standard I was the biggest failure I knew. No, I'm not going to stand here and tell you that failure is fun. That period of my life was a dark one, and I had no idea that there was going to be what on the press has since raised as a kind of fairy tale resolution. I had no idea then how far the channel extended, and for a long time anyway, and at the end of it was I hope rather than a reality. So why do I talk about the benefit of failures? Simply because failures mean a stripping away of the inessential. I stopped pretending to myself that I was anything other than what I was and began to direct all my energy into finishing the only work that mattered to me. Had I really success and anything else I may ever have found the determination to success in the one arena I believed I truly belong. I was set free because my greatest fear I've been released and I was still alive and I still had shelter warm I enjoyed and I had on all cheaper waiter and a big idea and so rock bottom become the solid foundation on which I rebuild my life. You might never fail on the scale I did, but come failure in life is inevitable. It is impossible to live without failing at something unless you live so continuously that you might as well not have lived at all, in which case you fail by default. Failure gave me an inner security that I had never attained by pressing examination. Failure taught me things about myself that I could have learned to no other way. I discovered that I had a strong will and more discipline than I had suspected. I also found out that I had friends who value was truly about the price of rubies. The knowledge that you have emerged whether the stronger from setback mean that you are ever after secure in your ability to survive. You will never truly know yourself of the strength of your relationship until but have been staged by adversity. Such knowledge is a true gift for all that it is painfully won, and it has been worth more than any qualification I ever earned. So, given a time turner, I would tell my 21 years old self that personal happiness lies in knowing that life is not a checklist of equation or achievement. Your qualification, your CV are not your life. True, you will meet many people of my age and older who confused the true. Life is difficult and complicated and beyond anyone's total control, and the humility to know that will enable you to survive its vicissitudes. Now you may think that I choose my second the importance of imagination because of the part it play in rebuilding my life, but that is not fully so. So I personal with different to value of bedtime stories to my last guests. I have learned to value imagination in a much broader sense. Imagination is not only the uniquely human capacity to envision that which is not, and therefore the fount of all invention and innovation. In its arguably most transformative and revelatory capacity, it is the power to enable us to empathize with human whose experience we have never shared. Ounce of the greatest formative experience of my life preceded Harry Potter to inform much of what subsequently word in this book. This revelation come in the form of one if early day jobs. So I was shopping off the read stories during my lunch hours. I paid the rent in my early 20 by work at African Research Department at Amnesty International headquarters in London. There in my little office I read hastily scribbled letter so much out of totalitarian regimes by men and women who were risking imprisonment to inform the outside world of what was happening to them. I saw photographs of Jews who had despaired without trial sent to amnesty by their desperate families and friends. I read the testimony of further victims and saw pictures of their injuries. I opened handwritten a witness account of summary trial and execution of kidnapping and rapists. Many of my co-workers were ex-political prisoners, people who had been displaced from their homes or fled into exile because they had the temerity to speak against their governments. Visitors to our offices include those who had come to give information or to try and find out what had happened to those they had left behind. I shall never forget the African torture victim, a young man no older than I was at the time who had become mentally ill after all he had endured in his homeland. He trembled uncontrollably as he spoke into a video camera about the brutally inflicted upon him. He was a food teller. Then I was enlisted as pregnant as a child. I was given the job of escorting him back to the underground station afterward, and this man who's left and been shot by Curtis took my hand with exquisite courtesy and wished me future happiness, and which question Curtis and with me future happiness, and as long as live I shall remember walking along an empty corridor and suddenly hearing from behind a closed door a scream of pain and horror such as have never heard since. The door opened and the researcher poked out her head and told me to run and make a hot drink for the young man sitting with her. She had just had to give him the news that in retaliation for his own outspokenness against his country's regimes, his mother had been seized and executed. Every day of my working week in my early 20s, I was reminded how incredible fortunate I was to live in a country with democratical elected government where illegal repression and public trial were the right of everyone. Every day I was more evidence about the evil humankind will inflict on their fellow humans to gain or maintain power. I began to have nightmare, literally nightmare, about some of things I saw, heard, in read. And yet I also read more about human goodness at Amnesty International than I had ever known before. Amnesty mobiles thousands of people who never been tortured or imprisoned for their benefit to act on behalf of those who have. The power of human empathy leading to collective action save lives and free prisoners. Ordinary people who personal well-being the security are as just together in huge number to save people they do not know. And we never meet my small participant in that process was one of the most humbling and inspiring experience of my life. Unlike any other creatures on this planet, humans can learn and understand without having experience. They can think themselves into other people's place. Of course, this is a power like my brain of fictional magic that is morally natural, One make use such as ability to manipulate or counter just as much as to understand or sympathize, and many prefer not to exercise their imagination at all. They close to remain comfortable within the bound of their own experience, never troubling to wonder how it would feel to have been born other than they are. They can refuse to hear screams or to peer inside cages. They can close their remain and hurt to any surfing that does not touch them personally. They can refuse to know. I make the attempt to envy people who can live that way, except that I do not think they have any fewer nightmares than I do. Choosing to live in narrow space led to a form of mental agoraphobia, and they bring its own terror. I think the willfully unimaginative see more monster. They are often more afraid. What is more, the just who choose not to empathize enable real monster for whatever committing an act of outright evil ourselves. We could with it through our own pity on of the many things I read at the end of that classic corridor down which I ventured. At the act of in search of something I could not then define. Was this written by the Greek author Plutarch? What we achieve inwardly will change other reality. That is an astonishing statement, and yet proven 1,000 times every day of our life in expressed in part or in inescapable connection with the outside world. The fact that we touch other people's lives simply by exiting. But how much more are you Harvard graduation of likely to touch other people's life? Your intelligence, your capacity for what, the education have you earned it, and receivers give you unique status and unique responsibilities. Even your national state you apart, the great majority of you belong to the world only remaining superpower. The way you vote, the way you live, the way you protest, the pressure you bring to bear on your government has an impact way beyond your brother. That is your privilege and your burden. If you choose to use your status and influence to raise your voice on behalf of those who have no voice, if you choose to identify not only with a powerful but with the powerless, if you retain the ability to imagine yourself into the life of those who do not have your advantage, then it will not only be your bright families who celebrate your existence, but thousands and millions of people who relate you have helped change. We do not need magic to change the world. We carry all the power we need inside ourselves already. We have the power to imagine better. And really finish, I have one last offer for you, which is something that I already had at 21. The friend with whom I sat on graduation day have been my friend for life. They are my children, good parent, the people to one I've been able to run in times of trouble. People who have been kind enough not to sue me when I took their names for did either. At our graduation, we were won by any most affection by our shared experience of a time that could never come again, and of course by knowledge that we certain photographic evidence that would be exceptionally valuable if any of you shrine for prime minister. So today I wish you nothing better than similar friendship, and tomorrow I hope then even if remember not a single word of mine, you remember those of sense Another of those all romance I meet when I feel down the classic corridor in retreat from career ladder in search of action wisdom. As is in child, so is life. Not long it is, but how good it is what matter. I wish you all very good life. Thank you very much. So, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.